say hi and like chat a little bit. So yeah.
That was wonderful. That was great advice. So let's say they did all that stuff you just said, great, and now they have some the first meetings, one-on-one meetings with investors. Um, what are some things, or how should how should a founder or what should a founder focus on in that first meeting, right? In order to get a second meeting, or in other words, work towards, hey, signing uh, the investment documents and finally getting money in the bank. Like, what's that first meeting? What should that talk be centered around? And how should that dialogue be going? Um,
Yeah, so I mean we're talking pre-seed
yeah, right.
and
Like an
um
early pre-seed too, right? It's like the first round pre-seed.
yeah. And as you said, like I don't think there are a ton of pre-seed investors. Like you look at some of the giant venture firms like Andreessen, Hack, like Paradigm, these guys aren't, I don't think, are doing a whole lot of pre-seed stuff, and they have investment committees, they do diligence for like a month, they're doing background checks, all that sort of stuff. Like I don't know about all the other pre-seed investors, but we don't really do that stuff. We invest pretty early. We invest, because they're early cheap rounds, it's smallish checks, and we do a lot of them. So like we're not doing legal background checks. We're not um I don't need to know like the thesis you did at your PhD program. Um we I want to know like what the narrative is that you're focusing on. Um I want to know that how this is going to blow up and make money and a hundred, 1,000x. Like sometimes you can tell a founder's really smart, but he just doesn't really know the crypto world. Um, like you might know of a problem that needs to be solved, and like crypto can kind of solve it, but you don't know how to pump a narrative. And that's really important. And like, you know, I- I'm trying to strike a balance between being like, oh, just put, you want to pump your token, but at the same time, like we're a venture fund, our little goal and job is to make money and make returns. Um, so that's what we want. And yeah, we want to fund like really cool projects that help the ecosystem. And at the same time, we want to make a lot of money. Um, so I want to hear um w- what the problem is, what you're doing to fix it or solve it better than what else exists. Because, let's face it, there in crypto, there still aren't a ton of applications that are used by large audiences. And so sometimes it's a problem that's already being tackled, but maybe it's not being tackled well, and you can do it better. Um, but you really have to show that because the incumbent is going to have a much easier time. Like you have to be much better than what else is out there. Um, so you have to explain that to me. And in terms of like your background, your skill sets, I want to know a little bit about that, but sometimes you get on a call and someone will give you like a 10-minute background about where they grew up and where they went to high school and then where they went to college and what they studied in college, their first three jobs. Like, we don't really need to know all that information. Just tell us like what's relevant to your crypto knowledge. Like why do you know a lot about crypto? And I don't really care if you bought Bitcoin in 2011 and were like really early in Bitcoin. Like I don't really care about that. Because a lot of people did that and some were lucky, some are really smart. I want to know like what you know about today's landscape in the crypto world. Um, Explain that you understand current narratives, like the current um yeah, the current environment. Like what are the hot DeFi chains? Like what are the hot L1s? What's coming in the next year? Like that's what I want to hear in terms of like your personal introduction. Um and then yeah, I mean I understand it's gonna be really early. So, assuming that the valuation comes along with this, I'm okay with, you know, maybe your development is pretty far off, you're just getting started on certain things. Like I'm okay with that in the pre-seed process, but I want to know that there's like a clear focus, and I have to agree that this is a problem that needs to be solved, and it's not currently being solved well, and that your vision can achieve that.
That's very helpful. So, Nick, going along this, I mean, just being practical, it's like an investment is, yeah, you have to make a profit, right? It's part of the game. So, like, let's say, one of the first points you mentioned, you're talking about if the founder really knows how to like basically market and I don't want to say hype, but really sell the product, right? And get people excited about it, right? That's a massive indicator, right? Now, let's say they're above average on that, but not like, out of the world. They're getting better and better, but they're, let's say it's not like on par with the strongest teams. What other metrics do you look at that would help indicate like, hey, maybe like although they're maybe 8 out of 10 on this, they're not like world class yet, but because they have these other metrics, I could see this project making money, or like we can help, it's still worth it for us to help them close that gap, right?
Yeah. Um, I mean, a lot of it is we funded a lot of projects, and sometimes like the smartest, like most technically savvy founders like don't win. Often they don't. There are a lot of factors. There's that. There's just like the actual tech savviness. There's like how how good at coding and building are you? Um, at a very fundamental level. There's how well can you pitch your project? And that's really important because there's there's so many projects now. There's so many and like the new narratives are changing like every month, and it's really hard to get eyeballs on your individual project. And so how to market is really important. Um, and and then there's just like being in the right place at the right time. Um, and don't get me wrong, that's not sometimes some of that's luck for sure, and some of it's just like having vision. Like what's hot right now, if you're just like people here, you're just getting started. I'm guessing most projects aren't like ready to launch mainnet next week. You have a little bit of time before your product's going to come to market. So be given how quickly things move these days, like you can't really be focused on what has worked the last 6 months or what's working right now. It's like what's going to work 3 to 6 months from now? What's going to be hot in 3 to 6 months? And so that's having vision, and that's different from having technical prowess or having marketing abilities. It's like understanding what will be the narrative in the future. Um, and I don't know. I think that's hard. That's hard to, that's a skill that a lot of people don't have. But I think that's who like often really hits it big because we funded a lot of projects that at the time were like, oh, this narrative is so hot. And then this is gonna, this is gonna be amazing. And then, by the time their product comes to market in 6 months, it's like that narrative is come and gone.